Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tobey'S Talkshow. This is episode number 19, and today we have a very special guest. I'm here on the show with Frank Isola. I'm sure many of you know who Frank Isola is, but if you don't know Frank, he has covered the Knicks for the New York Daily News. He is on ESPN's Around the Horn and is on Sirius XM's NBA Radio. Frank, I am so excited to have you on the show. As my fans know, I am a huge Knicks fan, and I've actually been following you since 2015, 2016, right before Derrick Rose got here. Frank is actually a huge inspiration of mine as I want to work in the sports industry, and I look up to him, kind of trying to follow his path. Frank, it is amazing to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks a lot. So I'm on show number 19. So obviously you asked 18 guests before me to come on.
No, I've been doing solo episodes. You're actually my second guest on the talk show. Mike Vorkunov was on here a few days ago, and you are my second interviewee. So Frank, basically I have a few questions for you, and then I think we could just talk about the Knicks for a little bit, your thoughts on how
Sure.
these past few years have been, where you see us going as an organization, etc. So my first question, just personally for you, is what did a day in your life look like before COVID-19, and how has it changed due to COVID-19?
Well, I've been doing a radio show on Sirius XM NBA Radio every morning, 5 days a week at 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
For a few years, I was going into the city to the Sirius studio on 48th, but for the last 3 years, they allowed me to do it from my home. So every morning, I'm getting up right after 6, getting ready for the show, and I actually do the show from my basement. I have a co-host for a while. I did it with Brian Scalabrine. Now I do it with some other guys. So I'm still able to do the show. The only problem is, because of the coronavirus, no one is allowed
to come to your house.
To be at this. No one's allowed to be at the studio on 48th.
Oh.
So that's where like the engineer and those people are. So because of that, we're now taping the show. It's kind of weird. We're taping the show at night because they have to connect through a guy out in California. It's a pretty complicated process. So I'm doing the show. I'm still doing the show. It's just different now because it was a morning show for me. It's still, in theory, it's airing in the morning, but I'm doing it in the afternoon. And then, of course, I do Around the Horn. I occasionally do PTI. I would have done PTI like 2 or 3 times over the last couple of weeks, and obviously all that stuff got canceled. So it's been a lot different. In the one good way, I'm probably getting more rest, but I'm also getting restless. I'm ready to get back to work.
Yeah. That's actually like very interesting how like even like things that you might like not expect to change due to the virus like completely changes your whole schedule.
No, absolutely, and also too, remember like the world that you want to get into, the sports world. We need the games. So there are still things to talk about. And you should always, the one thing about being, whether you're on TV, you're writing for a newspaper, you're writing for a magazine, a website, you always have to try to come up with creative things to talk about. But let's remember, most of the content that we all talk about is because of the games that are being played. And there have been no games in any sport since mid-March.
Right. I know, it's crazy. Like literally in like 1 second, the whole NBA went from happening, and then half the games were canceled and half the games were still going on. So it was crazy. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, that whole week, because if you remember, it started out, a few days before the season was suspended, where they were talking about how they were going to have different guidelines for the media. And then the word came down on that Tuesday. I remember I was doing a Nets game for the S Network up in Stamford, Connecticut, and the word came down that the Nets-Warriors game on Thursday in San Francisco was going to be played without fans because the government, the local government in San Francisco said you can't have gatherings of more than I think 1,000 people. It was so we were kind of preparing for that, and then within 24 hours, it was Rudy Gobert, it was Donovan Mitchell, and the season is suspended.
It was crazy. It was actually insane. I remember where I was actually. I was with my friends at like a diner, and all of a sudden, my friend who came late walked in and goes, "The NBA season was canceled." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "You're kidding, right?" He was like, "No." Checked my phone. It was crazy. Um, so Frank, my next question for you is, I see you went to Maryland, um, but how did you first begin your sports career? Did you take a specific course in college? Did you do an internship right after college? Did you know you wanted to, work in the sports industry when you were older, when you were in college? What was your journey like?
Yeah, I think like you, I think early on, I knew that like I wanted to be involved in sports somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So when you become realistic that you're probably not going to be a professional athlete, so you start looking at other ways to stay involved. And for you, you're kind of lucky because I think there's probably more opportunities now than ever before. So it was something that I was interested in. I loved the idea of working for a newspaper. I was lucky enough to land a gig when I was in college at the New York Post. So I worked there in the summers, just in the office. I was mostly like filing pictures, but just to be around that environment. But I was, I was a journalism major at Maryland, but you don't really have to major in that. For me, it helped. But the bigger thing was I worked for the student newspaper, which was kind of like on-the-job training, and they paid, which was a nice little perk as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to college in around a year, so I have to start thinking of, what courses I want to take. I still even haven't like brought down like to what college I'm going to apply to yet. So I think that's something to look at in the summer.
Yeah, my son went to Northwestern, and my daughter's at Villanova right now.
Got it.
So they went through the whole college thing. But the Big Ten's got some unbelievable schools. And Michigan is incredible. Yeah. But you're right, though. That was the thing for me going to Maryland at the time. Maryland was in the ACC.
Right. I
was big into basketball. I liked football too. So you went to this school where, the football games were a big deal. The basketball games were a big deal. It was a lot of fun. So you're in kind of that like professional setting. Mm-hmm. Even as a college student.
Right. Right. I'm excited to college, see what type of course I could take to try to help push my career to where I want it to go. So I'm excited. And lastly, my last question before we get into the good stuff about the Knicks, because there always seems to be drama surrounding the Knicks, which is, so you have been working in the sports industry for a long time. I wanted to start getting into the NBA questions. So I wanted to know, how have you seen the NBA change since you began working in the sports industries?
I mean, I think, because of social media, the players have a direct path to the fans, which it's good for them to build their brand. Right. It's also unfiltered in ways where they don't get called on stuff. So I still think the media serves an important role. It's great that the players have that access to the fans and can speak directly to them, but I also think they're only going to talk about things that make them look good. Right. That's not always the most accurate picture. But when I was really covering it at the start, Michael Jordan, that was as big as you can get out of any athlete in the world. Right. So even though LeBron James is as big as basically any athlete in the world, but Michael was just as big. So from that standpoint, it was always kind of a superstar-driven league, right. And I still think it's like that in terms of covering it. The game itself has changed, obviously, more fast-paced, more three-point shooting. Right. I think the players, I don't want to sound old, I think the players are a little softer now than they used to be with all this stuff about back-to-backs, but, I get it.
Right. Definitely Steph Curry definitely influenced that. Since I've been watching, I've seen it change also. Definitely shooting, definitely fast-paced, definitely more offensive-focused. So it's interesting. It seems like the NBA changes a little bit every time I watch a game. Maybe it's due to the coaching. I don't know, but I find it interesting how quickly the NBA could change if one player does something, maybe that seems like out of normal, but, maybe it's the new type of wave.
I think, the three-point shot has become such a big part of it, where in some ways it takes away a little bit of the creativity in the game. There's just everybody launching three-point shots, and I think some people have had a problem with that, which, I get. But, I think the players themselves, I think, are more skilled than they ever were. For years, the big men that were coming over from Europe, they're the guys that had all the skill.
Right.
And, could play on the outside and can pass the ball. Now the big men, that play the game, all can shoot, all can pass. I think that part of the game has changed. I don't think the players are as tough as they once were, but I think they're more highly skilled.
Yeah. I think social media could definitely impact that. I think also, social media is kind of a way to. I think it gives kind of the players more freedom, though, if you look at it that way. I think there are definitely pros and cons to, sports and social media. But I was never in a time where I got to really see the NBA without social media, so I can't really talk all about it.
Well, also remember this too, though. The teams like to control stuff, so the players, sending stuff out on social media that might be what regarded as controversial or makes news, that's actually good for the reporters. I'm sure the teams probably cringe a lot of times when the players tweet stuff out. Mm-hmm. And if they tweet something out inappropriate, or if they use profanity or something like that, it actually it could help them, but it could also hurt some players as well.
I mean, also like with technology nowadays, like you could say anything, and then in 3 seconds it's on the internet.
That's right.
Or post anything, aka I don't know. Hopefully you didn't see the Jamal Murray video, but if you know what happened there, I mean, sometimes like things like that could hurt your career.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the organization. It's embarrassing for the player.
Right.
I'm sure the league certainly wasn't happy about it, but that stuff's always going to happen because, especially with all this downtime that the players have as well.
Right. Okay. Well, now it's time to get into the drama part, I guess, with the New York Knicks. So I guess the first thing I want to talk to you about is. So R.J. Barrett is obviously who we drafted at the 3rd spot this past draft. Do you view as R.J. as kind of like a franchise cornerstone piece, or do you think R.J. could or at least progress into that, or do you think we need to draft another guy that could kind of lead and R.J. could be the second?
I think that's too hard to say right now.
Right.
And, my only thing would be if you think about the 2 guys that were drafted ahead of him.
Right.
Look at the impact when he's played that Zion Williamson has made.
Right.
Look at the impact that John Morant has made. As of right now, his team is in 8th place in the Western Conference. So I think R.J. Barrett is a good player. Is he a difference maker? I don't know about that. He's not a big-time athlete. But, not the worst thing.
Right.
But I think he's got a long way to go. I mean, you look at those first 2 picks. To me, they're light years right now ahead of R.J. Barrett. Zion Williamson has had some monster performances, and John Morant has carried his team to the 8th best record in the Western Conference. And where are the Knicks with R.J. Barrett? They're one of the worst teams in the league.
I mean, I 100% agree. What I would have loved to see this year, though, is R.J. progressively throughout the season got the ball in his hands more. I know there were reports a few days ago about players were frustrated with Julius Randle. I know a lot of Knicks fans are frustrated with Julius Randle.
Well, but that's the problem when you kind of put together this mercenary team. So it's kind of like every man for himself because everyone's looking to get a contract. And a guy like Julius Randle, if you look at it from his point of view, he's still relatively young.
Right.
And he was once a high draft pick. So he's probably thinking, I've accomplished more than R.J. Barrett has to this point. Why would I take on a secondary role to him?
Right.
I'm better. As of right now, Julius Randle's thinking, I'm better than him. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try to get mine. And that's kind of, that's one of the issues you have when you put together teams like that.
I mean, I 100% agree. You can't blame Julius Randle for trying to, lead the team because that's what he got paid the most money this year in free agency. That was his role. I'm sure, when he walked into this, he thought, and I'm sure many of Knicks fans thought, like, look, this is our leader. And I think he took that role the best he could. I think sometimes Julius, may have the ball in his hands too long or may, sometimes make silly mistakes on offense, like turn the ball over. But I think my problem with the team setup is that if you're a rebuilding team, like the Knicks are a rebuilding team, like if you're a fan of the Knicks, we're trying to rebuild, or at least, the word try. But like when you surround this team, when you're trying to like have a winning type of franchise, but you're not taking the right steps like we didn't, I just think it hurts the players. like John Moran, his team, right? Like they traded Mike Conley. They gave him the keys to the franchise. They said, "Ja, this is your team. Do your thing."
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't know, like, is anybody on that team really worthy of that, though?
Right.
To say kind of this is your team. That's that can backfire as well. And the whole thing about rebuilding, last year the Memphis Grizzlies had Mike Conley and Mark Gasol on the team.
Right.
They traded Gasol during the season. After the season, they said they traded Conley. They decided they were going to rebuild. How's their rebuild working? They're in 8th place right now.
Right.
So everyone says rebuild. Like you can say you're rebuilding for the next 10 years because it's like it's just a way for people to buy time.
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks weren't trying to rebuild. They were trying to go out and get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And when they didn't get them, they said, now we're rebuilding. All right, well, if you say so.
Yeah. I like the Grizzlies team. They have Jaren. They have a lot of young guys. Or like John Morant isn't like surrounded by a lot of vets, which is why just like I understand you need veteran presence always. Like you need someone at least in the locker room. You need someone on the court to give you advice. But the way that Knicks like team is set up, like I just feel like for example Kevin Knox, like for someone like him who we've all seen his confidence go from up and down and up and down. I feel like someone like him, he needs to play. And I understand, like you were saying before, Julius Randle thinks he's better, so he should be playing. Same thing, like right now, Wayne Ellington is probably better than Kevin Knox. I
think that's the thing with you look at what the Knicks have accomplished. So if you take the record, if you forget the record for a minute, which I'm sure the Knicks want you to do, not focus on the record,
yeah.
And you just look at the development of their first round picks. You look at Frank Isola, Kevin Knox, R.J. Barrett, are they really developing at this point?
Right.
It's hard to, R.J. Barrett, the jury is still out because this is just his rookie
right.
year. So, he deserves a pass at least, but, I just don't think the Knicks are doing a very good job developing either. So you're not winning.
Right.
Because you're telling everybody that you're rebuilding, but, rebuilding is really developing players. And are they doing that? I'm not so sure they are.
Yeah, the only person. And if you look at it from Mitchell Robinson, like I think he's getting better, but like I expected at least a little bit of improvement on like the offensive game, but I didn't like really see that this year.
And the thing too about Mitchell Robinson, he's a role player on a bad team, so it still comes down to do you impact winning. So I look at Ja Morant, who we mentioned before. To me, he impacts winning. Look at a player on the level of somebody like Chris Paul. He's been on a lot of different teams. He always impacts winning.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the Knicks fans are so desperate to hold on to something. I'm not trying to knock Mitchell Robinson,
right.
But, it's like in a league where everybody, where big men are perimeter shooters, it's great. Yeah, he's around the rim. He gets a lot of dunks, but is he really impacting winning? I'm not so sure about that.
I think this is a good transition to go because we've been talking about, being a franchise player to kind of go to the draft now. So the draft is going to be very different this year. It's most likely going to be pushed back. Most likely you're not going to be able to have a lot of physical meetings. I don't know. We don't know a lot about the season yet. If it's canceled, maybe the draft is going to stay where it is. But who do you think in the draft is someone that could be a John Morant or a Zion Williamson?
That's the $60,000 question. It
yes.
still comes down to where you're drafting. That's the big thing. So last year,
right.
The Knicks had the 3rd pick. If they have the 1st or the 2nd pick, it's a lot different for them.
Right.
So a lot of it comes down to where you're drafting, and also what if they're looking to make a trade for a point guard?
Right.
So it's to me, I know people love those draft stories, but it's so early to read about stuff like that because nobody knows where anybody's picking.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. Once the draft is set, then you really get an idea of where guys might select and what guys may fall. Because remember, once the lottery happened, we all knew that the Knicks weren't getting Zion Williamson and John Morant.
Right. So a question about not about the Knicks position, but what position do you think the Knicks? Do you think the Knicks should look for a specific position this draft, or do you think the Knicks should take the idea? Let's say we stay at 6. Do you think the Knicks should take the position of we need a point guard, or do you think the Knicks should take the position of take the best player available?
No, you got to take the best player you can. You can't play that game.
Got it.
Whoever the best player is, that's who you have to take. The Knicks are in the stage of trying to acquire assets and talent. You just have to take whoever you think is the best player, regardless of the position.
Okay. And Frank, one of my last questions for you is which of the New York Knicks veterans would you like to, or do you think the Knicks should try to re-sign? And which do you think that which players do you think the Knicks should try to let walk?
Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think it matters. To me, there are no guys that you say, oh yeah, by all means you have to keep him. It's you're in a position now where you've lost so many games the last few years where and let's remember something else. You now have a new team president. So when you get a new team president, everything is on the table. He doesn't really have a connection to any of the players, even though I think, he probably has some kind of relationship with Ntilikina. But anything is open to happen. And when you lose as much as the Knicks did, there's no way you can look at a guy and say, no, that's the guy we definitely have to keep. I don't believe that.
Mm-hmm. And really the last thing I want to talk about with you is Mike Miller. So obviously, there have been a lot of rumors, and Steve Stout said something on First Take. But do you see Mike Miller coming back in any type of form? I mean, I liked him, at least, or I think the Knicks, when he was our coach, he brought, I think, defensive intensity. I know, like, our defensive rating was actually one of the best when he was the coaches. Do you think that he should, be a type of coach on the Knicks? Or do you think the Knicks should look for some other type of coach?
Well, I actually think he's done a really good job. And under tough circumstances, you mentioned the thing with Steve Stout going on TV and basically saying, oh, we'll be getting a new coach next year. I thought that was really unfair to Mike Miller. I think under the circumstances, he's done a good job. But remember, like I said before, Leon Rose is now running the show. So he comes in there. It's not to say that Mike Miller won't be the coach next year, but normally the way it works in the NBA is like a new guy comes in, he wants to bring in his own coach. We saw it with Phil Jackson when he when he got rid of Mike Woodson and brought in Derek Fisher. So Leon has been around the NBA for a long time, has a lot of connections. I think Mike Miller has a chance, but if I'm a betting man, I would say there might be a new coach next year.
I would agree. I mean, I've heard some rumblings of Tom Thibodeau. But I mean, I don't think anyone knows right now who the coach is going to be in the future.
No, but Leon does have a relationship with Tom, so that's not the craziest one.
Yeah. So I mean, those are all my questions, Frank. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. Thank you once again for coming on.
All right, Toby. If you need anything, just text me. All right, man.
Of course. Thank you, Frank, so much.
Stay
I really
safe.
appreciate it.
Good luck with school.
You got it. Thank you so much, Frank. Stay safe.
All right, man. Take care.
Okay, guys. Well, that was the talk show. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys want to see more guests on the show. I'm definitely willing to see if more people want to be on the show. Frank Isola is a really big Knicks writer, so it was awesome to have him on the show. He does a lot in the sports industry. I'm sure you guys have heard of him. But I'm really thankful he allowed me to get a call with him. He couldn't do a Skype, which is why you won't be seeing his face. Maybe there'll be a picture there, but that is why. And that is why sometimes I was looking down, because I kind of wanted to make sure that he was on the call, that the audio was working and everything was going great. But once again, thank you guys for watching. If you guys are here still and you guys enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, comment, anything you want. Once again, I really appreciate you guys for watching this video and staying till the end. And I'll see you guys for episode number 20. Should be a good one. Bye, guys.